mobile gamers? In today's video we got our best builds for the Necromancer. Happy Halloween, everybody. It is November 2nd. I hope you guys and girls had an amazing Halloween. Before we get started, subscribe to the channel, notification bell so you don't miss a video when we live stream. Hit the thumbs up button if you enjoy these builds. There is a bunch of different builds for the Necromancer, but of course I'm just going to go briefly over some of my favorites. I'm also going to give you a few options because there are some things that I just didn't like, but there are some things that you can kind of twist around and change around depending on, you know, your play style, what you like, what you dislike. So our builds we have for today are the summon build, the plague build, and a special little wombo combo trolley kind of piss off your opponent for guild versus guild build. All right, so first up we have is our summon build. So there's two very important skills that I highly recommend you use, and then the other two skills you can kind of change them however you want. So first up we have, of course, our summon ability. There's three different characters to summon. You have the gazer. Actually, let me go over here so I can go over them. You have the gazers, which you summon 3 of them. You also inflict slowdown for 4 seconds to your surrounding enemies. The gazers, I don't know how to read, but you summon 3 of those and their type is considered balanced. Then we have the harvester. It also inflicts 1 plague stack on your surrounding enemies for 8 seconds. This ability I really do like. The harvester is an attack focused summon. Also, I forgot to mention the harvester does 30% extra dark magic damage to an enemy that has plague stacks on them. The devourer, again, is a defensive type unit. Its attacks inflict weakness on the enemies it hits. Weakness means the damage they deal is 8% less. And the devourer also has a taunt ability that it does. It does it in intervals randomly. For 6 seconds, it does like a 6-second taunt where it just draws the attention of the enemies, draws the aggro of them. Now, I tested all 3 of them out, and basically the best one I found was to be the infernal gazers. They're definitely the best because of a certain combo that I'm going to show you off. But again, if you want to try and experiment with the harvester or the devourer, you can. You know, having their extra special abilities just really didn't seem like it helped out a lot, honestly. Then we have the shadow arrow that inflicts the enemy with infernal mark. The infernal mark just means that the enemy will take 50% more dark magic damage from a summoned creature. Honestly, this ability I really didn't like. I didn't notice a huge difference. It just, to me, I didn't really like it. I would honestly change this ability out for something else that would just do raw damage. And then we have Nightmare Barrier Zealot. Damage dealt and received of your summoned creatures is increased by 10 and reduced by 10. This is another in particular ability that I didn't really find hugely successful, for me at least. Again, I would switch this out for something else that just does raw damage. Like maybe change these 2 abilities to something that has to do with plague stacks. Honestly, that's what I would go with, but this is like a pure summon build. And then the last and most important ability for this summon build we have is the Infernal Ritual Sacrifice. Sacrifice summon creatures, restores 20% HP for each sacrificed creature. So because of this is why we want to summon the Infernal gazers that we get 3 of. Because we're getting 3 of that unit, whereas the other 2 summoned abilities, they only summon 1 unit. So because of that, we use this sacrifice. We're getting 20, 20, 20. We're getting 60% HP healing, which is absolutely, it's insane. This is what makes the Necromancer absolutely almost unkillable when it comes to like 1v1 arena, because you just sacrifice those 3 and you see your health bar. You're like, oh my God, I'm about to die. You pop that and boop, 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 boop. your health bar goes all the way back up. It is absolutely sick, absolutely insane. All right, let's go over the mastery real quick for the summoner build. So you're just going to basically take all of the summon masteries, which is going to reduce our cooldown by 50%, and summon creatures move speed is increased by 40%. This is just so amazing for that wombo combo, because initially it's like 20 seconds to summon a creature. This cuts it down to 10, so you can basically just spam summon the creatures, and then when they're about to die or when you need health, pop the heal to sacrifice them and heal, and then by then you'll be able to summon them again. And it's just like an ongoing, never-ending ability to just keep summoning and healing. So definitely go for the masteries right here for the summoner masteries, and then you'll increase like their attack speed and just various other things that'll also help out. And then again, you'll just go through and look at the other skills, and then you'll just basically just pick those to lower their cooldowns. Same thing that you're always trying to do, is you're always trying to lower your cooldowns for your abilities. Up we have the plague build. The plague build's pretty straightforward. There is a little bit of a wombo combo here that can be pretty good, and then there is a couple variations to this. First thing I have is the Vile Curse Epidemic. Each hit has a 30% chance to inflict the enemy with a plague stack for 8 seconds. You're hitting them 6 times for 30% chance. Honestly, you should get at least 1 stack off. If you don't get 1 stack off on that, you're just really unlucky. But you should get a stack off. Then after that, you then have Havoc DK, which inflicts 2 plague stacks on targets that already have plague. So you'll see that we're going to, at the worst case scenario, have 1. We'll have 3 altogether after these 2 abilities pop off. Now this is where the wombo combo comes into play, and you can put out a tremendous amount of damage if done right. So then we have Shadow Arrow Noxon. Deal extra 60% dark magic damage to targets that have plague stacks on them. Now, if you're wondering what the plague does, is the enemy receives 15% dark magic damage per second. You can have 5 stacks maximum. So you'll notice you're going to be doing 60% extra damage because they're going to have stacks on them. You're going to definitely have stacks on them with these 2 abilities. And then what you're going to do is you're then going to activate the Dark Domain Fletcher, which resets our Shadow Arrow skill set cooldown, and skills don't require cooldowns for 8 seconds. Now this is poorly worded. The way that I first thought this was, I thought all of my skills didn't have to have a cooldown, because the way it's worded is it says, and skills don't require cooldowns. Skills, you know, so you think, okay, it has an S, it means plural, it means all of your skills don't have cooldowns after you activate this. That would seem so broken. But what this actually means is, this just has to do with the Shadow Arrow. So you can spam Shadow Arrow. So they really need to go in there and take off the S. It should read reset Shadow Arrow skill set cooldowns, and the skill doesn't require cooldowns for 8 seconds. Like, they really need to reword that because it's super duper confusing. So once you pop this, this will get reset, because remember, we're going to pop this first before this. This gets reset, and then we can just literally spam this over and over and over again for 8 seconds without a cooldown. And because of that, remember, our opponent is going to have plague stacks on them, and these plague stacks last, you know, like 8 seconds. So because of that, you're going to be able to spam this, dealing 60% extra dark magic damage to them over and over and over again, as much as you want, and you're just gonna put out so much damage. Absolutely insane. This is like, what a huge heavy damage build. So this one I highly suggest you manually play it as. Let me go over the mastery real quick. The mastery is pretty simple. You're going to take Vile Curse skill set damage increase. We're then going to take the crit rate increase, and then finally reducing the cooldown, because this whole combo starts off with the Vile Curse. This needs to hit. You need to get at least 1 stack. If you don't get 1 stack on your enemy, you're screwed. But if you do get at least 1 stack, then you're going to add 2 more stacks, and it just kind of goes on from there, and you just destroy them. So that's why I like to lower the cooldown of Vile Curse. That way you can just get it off more. It hits harder. But another thing that you're going to want to really do, and this is super duper also important, is if you do go the Plague build, instead of going this way with the Shadow Arrow, once you reach about, I think it's level 53, you'll have enough to unlock the middle. You'll just basically put 5 points in each one of these just to unlock the next area. You're going to increase your basic attack damage. You're going to increase your basic attack increases own run speed, so you're going to be able to run a little bit faster, which is good. But this is the main focus. Your third basic attack has a 50% chance to inflict plague for 8 seconds. You get that ability. Once you hit 53, if you don't want to go with this, you can just dump all your points into the middle. You'll have enough to unlock this. And that way you have a better chance of getting a plague stack on your opponent. And then after that, it's just kind of GG's, because then you just run over them. We have our little trolley guild versus guild build. There's a bunch of different things you can interchange with this. This isn't really to put out damage or anything like that. This is kind of more to just be as annoying as possible to your enemy. And it works best when you have, like, you know, a big guild versus guild battle and there's tons of people running around. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to do Shadow Arrow, which inflicts an enemy with a plague stack for 8 seconds. Guaranteed plague stack. Perfect. That's what we need. Then we have our Havoc Contagion, which inflicts the enemy with plague seedlings for 8 seconds. Now, this ability I'm a bit confused on. I don't know exactly how it works. I'm going to read you what it does. Is when receiving damage, there's a 5% chance to inflict 1 plague stack for 8 seconds, and it reduces their move speed by 20%. Now, what I don't understand is it says when receiving damage. So does that mean only when you deal damage to them, or when they receive damage from anyone? That's why I think this could be good for guild versus guild, because if it is just anytime they take damage from anyone, then that means, you know, you're going to have your teammates hitting them, and it's just going to have a higher percent chance. Even though it is only 5%, they're going to be taking damage from this character, this character, this character, all over the place. And eventually, they're going to just really drop those stacks. Those stacks are really going to get hit on them. And then we have Nightmare Barrier Unworded. Each hit inflicts silence for half a second on targets with plague. This right here, absolutely insane. You're just going to just keep silencing all the opponents around you. That way they can't use their abilities, and your teammates can kind of just keep trucking them along, destroying them, absolutely smashing them. And then another absolutely amazing ability is the Dark Domain Bane. Each hit inflicts enemy with necrosis for 1 second, and basically what that does is it means they take reduced healing. I believe it is, let me take a look at my notes, reduced healing received by 30%. So they receive 30% less healing, which again is absolutely amazing when you have these big guild versus guild battles. Enemy team may have stuff like a cleric or a sage or priest, and they're trying to heal. Bam, they ain't gonna get as much healing, especially characters like the Berserker, if they go like the heal build and they're trying to self-heal, stuff like that. This is absolutely an amazing ability. Also, you know, it's not bad for, you know, arenas too. You know, you can throw this in as well. It just has a really long cooldown. That's the only downside to it. Some other things that I just want to mention is there's a few other abilities that I just want to talk about in case you're confused and want to try. Frail just means receive damage increased by 10%. We also have Pain. Pain is receive 30% dark magic damage per second from the caster. This cannot be stacked. So it's kind of similar to Plague, but it lasts for 12 seconds and it can't be stacked. It only happens one time. For Fear, interrupt the movement, casting, and item usage every 2 seconds. This lasts for 4. So Fear is another absolutely amazing ability. Like if you didn't want to use the silence, you could use the Fear. Or if you didn't want to use the reduced healing, you could use Fear. So like you could just interchange those. Again, this is all about silencing our opponent. So I went with the Nightmare Barrier Mastery, where we just increase our distance. So the skill set distance is increased by 5 when it's maxed out, And then our skill set range is increased by 1.5. So like I said, these two, when you max this out, this mastery, your range just greatly increases. So that way you can silence more of your opponent. And then I went with the shadow arrow skill set, mostly because you're just going to want to reduce the cooldown. So that way you can just keep spamming this as much as possible, because the only downside to the silence is they have to have plague on them. If they don't have plague, it doesn't silence them. So that's one thing that you also have to keep in mind. But I hope you guys and girls enjoyed this video. I will see y'all very soon with another video. Stay happy, stay safe, my friends. Peace.